Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel. And there's been some leaks for some Adidas shoes and some other shoes as well. We got some new information on upcoming shoes. And first of all, let's get started off with the Adidas Harden Volume 6. We have a triple white colorway. Obviously, James Harden is wearing it. And this is actually the cleanest look that we've seen of the Harden Volume 6. Now, actually, it doesn't look that bad. It looks great, actually, but it is a triple white colorway. And also, as far as the midsole caging goes, I don't know, guys. Like, stop, please. Why did you guys cage the actual cushion? Just don't do that. There's no need to cage it. If you want to have a soft midsole, you don't have to cage it like this, you know what I mean? Of course, I mean, we don't know how soft or hard the plastic is that cages the midsole, but I don't know, just from looking at it, it looks pretty hard. One thing that looks kind of familiar though for the Harden Volume 6 is that you see the Adidas stripes here on the outsole on the lateral side in the heel. That reminds me of the Dawn Issue 2 a little bit, but I believe it was on the medial side for the Dawn Issue 2, correct me if I'm wrong. Also, there's a dimpled pattern on the outsole as well as the caging, which I'm not a huge fan of. That looks kind of weird. Kind of reminds me of a golf ball, right? And also the overall kind of like design language reminds me a lot of the Harden Volume 5 on the upper. You know, we have a little bit of synthetic material kind of like bubbling, you know, those like oval shapes. We obviously have less than the Harden Volume 5, but it's still apparent here in the midfoot. Also, there is an elastic strap that goes around the back of the shoe. And on the tongue, there's, we've already known this, but there's 2 pull tabs on the tongue, which is kind of weird. And as far as the material goes, it looks very fused. You know, in this colorway specifically, it looks like they fused up the material maybe, or is it just kind of like a textile material, but like we can't really see it because, I don't know, it looks like a thicker type of like textile material with a little bit of like padding on it. But anyways, here is the cleanest look we've seen of the Harden Volume 6 so far. No release date yet, but Harden's been playing in the Harden Volume 6, so it should be coming out soon. Next, we have the Curry 9. And supposedly the first 4 colorways of the Curry 9 are supposed to come out sometime in November. And we have a collaboration with Sesame Street, right? The first one is the Count. It's kind of like a simple black and white colorway, but the lining is pretty cool. And also on the midsole, we have some black and green speckles with kind of like a very pinkish purple color underneath that. Next, we got the Cookie Monster, which is this blue colorway. I'm not a huge fan of the Cookie Monster colorway, but it's just a simple blue, black, and white colorway. Next, we got the Big Bird. So this kind of reminds me a little bit of the SpongeBob colorway. You know, it's kind of like SpongeBob and Patrick. So I do like that. But if you don't want to be flashy, this probably isn't the best option. And then last but not least, we got Oscar the Grouch. This is probably my favorite colorway. It's just a very simple gray and white colorway. On the midsole though, and also throughout the upper, we have a hint of green. So there is the Curry 9 there. And as far as the LeBron 19 goes, so shout out to Say It With Your Kicks as well as Ben Hui 0716. But we have a LeBron 19 kind of like tech spec sheet, you know, like what's in the actual LeBron 19, right? So we can see the actual kind of like design, like the drawing. But one thing I didn't know about the LeBron 19 is there's Cushlon in there. There's not a whole lot, probably because if you look at the actual shoe, I mean, it's pretty much just, you know, the Air Max unit or dual chambered Air Max unit in the heel, and then the crazy big zoom unit in the forefoot. Like you guys can see, it's like the entire forefoot in this diagram, which is really cool. So the Cushlon, I don't know, we'll have to see on how it feels. But also, if you guys look at the Cushlon, there is a very big cutout here in the forefoot as well as in the heel. So maybe, or also like hopefully, there's not a crazy like stiff strobel board in the forefoot so your foot can't dig into the zoom unit. But I do have my hopes up for that. And of course, we have Flywire and all that. So there's a little update for you guys on the LeBron 19. Also, we have a very clear shot of LaMelo Ball's shoe, the MB1 with Puma. And one thing that I didn't notice is the crazy cage, right? So as far as that X pattern goes, like that, like I just noticed the XXX, which is weird. But anyways, for some reason on the other pictures, I didn't really notice that it was like plastic. I thought it was just the foam, but it looks like plastic caging, like a lot of it. And I guess the heel is exposed a little bit, but guys, Puma, please stop caging your foam this much. I don't know why you have to do this, but there's just something that I noticed there. And as far as the overall silhouette, it actually looks pretty cool. It reminds me a little bit of the Kyrie 1 for some reason, kind of like the overall shape of the shoe, you know? So the MB1 is supposedly coming out in December. And now let's get on to the Adidas basketball shoes, and shout out to US 11 as well as the basketball shoes. we got the Dawn issue 4. And the Dawn issue 3 came out not super recently, but it hasn't been that long. And I'm not super surprised because, I mean, the Donovan issue kind of like line, the shoe has always leaked like 8 months prior to release. It's always happened like that. We knew what the Dawn issue 1 was going to look like a year before. The 2, same thing. The 3, same thing. Now the 4, we know what it's going to look like. So yeah, it looks very similar to the Dawn issue 2, especially the midsole. The midsole looks very, very similar. The outsole, on the other hand, looks very different. You know, the Dawn issue 2 and the Dawn issue 3 kind of had like that web pattern. The 4 is a very multi-directional pattern, but the grooves look extremely thick. So I feel like it'll be very durable, but of course, we'll have to see on the rubber compound. As far as the midsole goes, we don't really know what the cushion is supposed to be. I can't really tell if it's light strike or not because that's not really the light strike pattern. There's a different pattern on the midsole. So I wonder if they're going to use light strike or bounce or maybe bounce pro. The foam that they're using on the Dame 8, we'll have to see on that. And the upper, or I guess like the overall design, like the outsole, the midsole, and also on the upper, it kind of looks like a digital camo a little bit, like a digital design on the upper. We can see Donovan Mitchell's logo on the tongue, and also it says Mitchell on the heel, which is pretty interesting. For some reason, it doesn't look crazy thick as far as the overall upper goes. It doesn't look like there's a lot of padding or anything. Obviously, we don't really know yet that we don't have a top view of the shoe, but from the side, it doesn't look crazy bulky, which of course the Dawn issue 2 was super bulky to me. And in the forefoot, we can see the Adidas logo. I don't know, not a huge fan of the aesthetics, to be honest. And then if you guys want to see a really weird looking shoe, we got the Exhibit B. So the Exhibit A came out and I tested it. Not a huge fan of the shoe. It was all right. You know, I would say it's a pretty good, okay performer for me. Definitely nothing top tier. But we got the Exhibit B and we got a crazy zigzag pattern in the outsole. This is weird. I've never seen anything like that. As far as the outsole pattern goes, we have a very chaotic pattern, just kind of like circles around from the pivot point, you know, where the ball of your foot is. And then also in the heel, we have an Adidas logo. It looks like it comes up into the heel a little bit, kind of caging the midsole. As far as the cushioning setup goes, it says light strike. So cool, light strike, but I don't know, I just can't get over the midfoot. There's no contact with the ground in the midfoot. So this is weird. I wonder how the torsion support is going to be as well. And for the upper, I don't know what's going on. We got some stitching. We got the Adidas logo here. As far as the eyelets go, it looks like a strap, right? And I don't know, it just, as far as the design language goes, it reminds me of like the Crazy 8 a little bit, you know? It's just a crazy looking shoe. So there is the Exhibit B. And last but not least, we got the Dame 8 in this white colorway. We already know the specs on it. And also here on the midsole, it says Bounce Pro, which I'm pretty excited to try out. The traction looks pretty interesting as well. I don't know why, but Dame's been doing this with the Dame 6 as well as the Dame 7. As far as the upper goes, I mean, Dame's shoe has always been pretty damn cheap. So shout out to Damian Lillard for keeping his shoes cheap, even though he's on like his 8th shoe, right? But then the material like in the forefoot doesn't look very nice. It looks like a pretty cheap mesh material. Please don't go back to the Dame 5. Go back to like the Dame 2, remember, with the jacquard. As far as the overall aesthetics go, not a huge fan. We'll have to see on like upcoming colorways, but I feel like the Dame 7 and also the Dame 6 looks better than this. But anyways, that about concludes this video. Tell us what you guys are excited about down in the comment section below. I'm super excited about the Curry 9 and also the LeBron 19. That should be coming out probably in like a week or two, right? And I'm also looking forward to the Harden Volume 6. But that about wraps up this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.